The administration and we're good. Shout out to Full Moon. The Administration and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 29th is called to order at 6:21 p.m. We've already had a moment of silent meditation. We've already had the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call, Chair Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Chair Martin.
Here.
Member Erbaum.
Present.
Member Perella.
Here.
Member Lightfoot Ward will not be in tonight. Also present for the record, Janisha Kobe, Village Clerk, Christia Lu, Village Manager, and Attorney Elbert on behalf of Joseph Geller.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Member Erbaum. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none. Moving on to good and welfare. If anybody wants to come up and talk about anything on this particular agenda, now's your time to do so. There will be another good and welfare later, and you can talk during the agenda item. Hearing, seeing none, moving on to agenda item, general review. I do want to bring up, these things came up during the budget hearings, which is contract and evaluations. So there was a member of the audience that was talking about breaking the contracts. They wanted the council to look into breaking the contracts of the clerk in particular and the manager, but the clerk in particular. I just wanted to say, so, I was curious about this. I reached out to our attorney, and I spoke to a couple other attorneys, and one thing that we have to keep in mind, I'm not saying that, if you guys want to go through it, we can go through it, but one thing that we really have to keep in mind is, first of all, just like with any contract, just like if it's like a musician and a record label, or if it's like a athlete and their team, we can't just break these contracts willy-nilly without penalties, without possibly having to pay severance, and things like that. So these contracts, we have to look at, when I was speaking to the attorneys, we do have to look at any breaches, and we probably would have to pay a severance to then rip the contract up, to then do it all over the way that one resident was talking about, and a couple of people were considering. Like I said, I'm not against necessarily doing it. If you guys want to do it, I just wanted to kind of paint the whole picture of it when it comes to breaking a contract and redoing a contract that that we would probably have to entail. I also want to say that, because there was also talk about redoing the contract kind of like at a council meeting, line by line, and I talked to a few people, and it's usually not done that way. Even here in the past, it hadn't been done that way. So usually the way it's done, like for example, when we negotiated the FOP contract, or when we negotiated, which is the Fraternal Order of Police, the police contract and stuff like that, it's usually, the contract is usually negotiated, and let's say like we would pick, either like the chair of the Administrative Finance Committee or the vice chair or something like that. We would pick somebody to be like the point person for the council, for the committee, for the council, to negotiate the contract, and then it comes back into the public once it's negotiated, and then we can say, oh yeah, no, we don't like that, we don't like this, we don't like that, we don't like this. But as far as the actual negotiation from the beginning, that doesn't happen in like a public meeting anywhere, you guys. Like, we don't go to a council meeting and say, hey, all right, we have a blank sheet of paper, like, or this, or the first sentence says this, or the first paragraph is this. What does everybody think? All right? We usually don't do it like that. So just kind of keep those things in mind when we go forward. Because I just know that previously people that were speaking about it were saying, especially a resident was saying, well, you guys can just break the contract and start over. And they were also saying, and when you guys do the contract, it should be done in transparency. It should be done at a council meeting from beginning to end. And so it's usually just not done that way, you guys. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also with the evaluations, the evaluations, I'm open for suggestions, but the way that evaluations, typically in government take place is that we'll all, with our evaluation sheet, which I'm going to get to in a second, but is that we'll all individually, either have to be a shade meeting, where a shade meeting, you guys, means that like we'll meet as a unit, kind of like as a unit in private or whatever, and then we'll come out and bring the results out to the public. That's like a shade meeting. Or we'll meet individually with the clerk, we'll meet individually with the manager, we'll evaluate them individually on our own, and then we can bring the evaluations to the committee or council, and then we can use those evaluations to decide, you know, how much raise they should get in the new budget year and things like that. But usually it's not in the public where we're at a council meeting and I'm like, okay, I'm about to do my evaluation of the clerk right now in front of everybody. So when it comes to da-da-da-da-da, it's satisfactory. When it comes to da-da-da-da-da, it's above average. When it comes, that's not done in the public sphere like that usually, okay? Questions, comments from the committee?
My big question is, when do we think we're going to like formally get our first batch of evaluation forms and start evaluating?
Yeah, so the evaluation forms, you guys will get them either around March. I think I might have another administration and finance meeting either March or April. So this is what I want to do. I want to have 3. So it's going to be this one. There'll be one in March or April. And then I want to have where we get the stuff and things like that. Then you guys will take it, have your evaluation, stuff like that. And then in July or August, I want to have, you know, a meeting or discussion on coming out of the evaluations, you know, looking at how much percentage we think that with the raises, with the performance percentages and things like that are in the current contracts. And how does that look as far as raises going to the budget hearings like that? Because the budget hearings and things, those happen, you know, in like the very beginning of September, like the last week of August. And if you guys remember, the reason why I think Vice Mayor Perella brought up previously, like about the timing of the budget hearings and the timing of the budget workshop, and the reason why we have those, you know, going into September like that is because El Portal's budget is so small. And so I don't want to have a budget workshop in like June or July, because we'll have let's say we have the budget workshop and then we decide to give individuals these raises or whatever in June or July, but then in August, things come in. So for example, this year, if you guys remember, right before we had our first, right before we had our budget workshop, it was like a day before we had our budget workshop, Coastal sent their thing in that they're going up like $38,000. And then like the same day, the insurance came in, myself, Manager Lou, and CFL Towerfield were sitting here, and the insurance sent a thing where they're going up, the insurance for the village went up $50,000. So right there was like $88,000 that we thought, you know, we had leeway for that we had to now account for, just like that out of the blue. So because other places, whether you're talking about Miami Shores, whose budget is $42 million or $46 million, whether you're talking about other places, they have like a leeway where they can have their budget workshop, you know, in June and say, oh, we're going to give this person this raise and this raise and this raise, because they have so much of a cushion. But we don't have that cushion, so we kind of have to push things a little bit further back so we can get the most accurate count so we can know just how much money we're dealing with. So that's was my thing. So to have this tonight to kind of announce these things, get our head around just like at a macro level of going into the contracts thing, like, you know, you guys need to talk to the attorneys yourself also. Do you guys want to tear up the contracts and start over? What is it with the severance of just tearing of a contract? Are there any other penalties? I just want to kind of get that out there so we can wrap our head around that. Then with the evaluations, knowing that those are coming, so in March or the beginning of April, you'll get the evaluation sheets. You'll be able to do the evaluations between March, April, and August. And then we'll go into from there, the budget, it'll be budget season, and those evaluations will be done, and those will be, you can use those to kind of like picture, like, where you want to go from there.
A quick follow-up.
Mhm.
So I'm really big on using information and metrics to just kind of understand the perspective beyond just my personal experience. So once we do get that information back from the individual evaluations, can it be communicated to the group, not identifying specifically who rated what, but some sort of metric as to whether or not the performance was satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or, exceeds expectation, some sort of metric so that we understand a snapshot of where we are well before that August conversation about bonuses, so maybe a couple weeks after.
Absolutely. If everybody gets their evaluations done with the manager, the clerk, the attorney, once everybody gets their evaluations done, then we can, put those in that. Do you want a metric showing, since you like not the individual, but do you want like an average of them
So-
also, or?
I'm assuming that this evaluation is broken apart
Mhm.
based on like performance criteria. So for each of the charter members, I would love to have those broad categories like timeliness, whatever the categories are. And then just the metric that says, based on each person's evaluation, is the performance satisfactory on this point, unsatisfactory, just so we know
Yeah.
what the global perspective is beyond our own anecdotal experience.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vice Chair.
And one more question.
No, go ahead, Madam Vice Chair.
I know that before the attorney did not have a current contract. Does he have a contract currently?
The attorney, I believe, never got a permanent contract
Okay.
done. It's actually in the works. The attorney that was doing it, which is Attorney Serafan, he was working on it with our attorney,
Mm-hmm.
but our attorney, he's been waiting on our attorney to respond to him about some things.
So currently, he does not have a contract.
Currently, he does not have it, but the attorney that's working on it is waiting for our attorney to respond because they
Okay.
negotiated it.
Thank you.
I'll get on our attorney so that he can get back to that attorney who's working on it so we can get it done.
No need to get back to him. I just
Yeah.
think these are all points that
No,
we should
absolutely.
think of when we evaluate
Absolutely.
effectiveness and performance.
It's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Madam Vice Chair, anybody else has any comments or questions from the committee?
Yes, I do, Mayor, if I may.
Absolutely.
Yeah, more of the metric and the, of the, and the, like the performance evaluation, I think you mentioned it, Mayor, is whether we can keep affording these high raises on charter employees. Before, when it was below $100,000, it was kind of okay. The percentage was between 5 and 6 or 8% was kind of like seamless, But now over, raises over 10 or 12%, or even 8% at a rate that we're going now, it will have to either be capped, like you said, or if it's to the point that we will need to review the contracts and establish the salary that we can afford as a small municipality, then we will have to do that. We cannot keep going at the rate that we're going, because then the employers are going to be making more money than what we actually get in revenues. Because remember, we're a property tax-based kind of a revenue village. So we need to reconsider that. If it's we need to get to that point. That's what we need to do, like before we keep increasing, giving these large increments. At 8%, I think, like I said it before, every budget I go through a few other municipalities, considering the size of ours, comparing, and even the larger ones. Of course, their salaries are way more than and so that we can afford. And so I still see only up to a 5% increase, not 8%, not 10, not 12. So that is something that we need to reconsider, as soon as possible. So it's either by reviewing the contract without breaching the contract, or or capping those salaries.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Perella. I think also, remember, so like I said, and what I'll have is I will make sure that everybody here gets the contracts, gets the clerk's contract, gets the manager's contract, and gets the attorney's interim contract. I'll make sure everybody gets those, and get those and ask questions. Ask questions about breaking the contract, ask questions about penalties, ask questions about paying the severance, to break the contract or redo the contract or renegotiate the contract. Ask those to our attorney or other attorneys that you guys might know that work in the government format, because then I think all those things, just having all that type of knowledge is good to have when we come to the next Administration and Finance meeting, which will be either the end of March or the beginning of April. And we can start to come to a final decision about, whether you guys want to break the contracts and start over again with that other knowledge, with how much we might have to pay for severing the contract. So kind of keep those things in mind, okay? But I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of the contract so you guys have them before the next Administration and Finance Committee meeting. Anybody else from the committee? Hearing, seeing none. Anybody from the audience? Say your name and address for the record.
Hello, Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. So regarding the topic that's being discussed, a few questions. One, why isn't the CFO present at this meeting?
The CFO, yeah, he's sitting right there.
Oh, he is?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's here. Yeah,
wonderful.
he's listening to everything. Yeah.
Okay,
he's here.
great. So my next question is, how come it can't be presented in transparency to the council members as well as the entire public what those kind of pros and cons are of severance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Seems like that should be clear in the contract, or if not, that could be presented to us. And in tandem with that, again, regarding the salary amounts and the size of our village, can there be some due diligence done where we figure out what our kind of max budget is for a manager role, for a clerk role, for whatever other roles are in our charter? Can't that be a workshop, figure that out, and then, move forward with that? Because obviously, whether it's an 8% wage, 5%, whatever, when people are here for a very long period of time, that is going to become unsustainable, no matter what. Yeah, those are my questions.
All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Pulliam. So the first one, as far as doing it in public, so like I said, so they'll all get the contracts. In the end of March or beginning of April, we'll come to another Administration and Finance meeting. At that particular Administration and Finance meeting, we'll discuss, in the open, whether we want to break the contracts or not, with the severability, with the penalties, with everything that we might have to consider. We'll do that in the public sphere. Because we're going to be talking about the contracts, leading into the Administration and Finance meeting, we'll be able to have on the agenda, as far as attached documents, will be those contracts, because we'll be discussing them and possibly making a decision on them. The reason why they're not on this one is because there's no decision being made on them, because I want everybody to get the whole picture about that. So that will be done in the public, and people will be able to say what they want to say and make opinions and things like that. This meeting was to set up like, hey, this is coming down the aisle. This is where you guys have to kind of like start to think about these type of things, and things like that or whatever. Our normal attorney is not here tonight. Therefore, we wouldn't even be able to have the discussion about the particulars of what takes to breaking a contract. Specifically also, when those contracts that we're going to be talking about in either that late March or early April meeting, the attorney will be here, and then we'll be able to go through those contracts in particular, or say what's on those contracts in particular as far as that. I just wanted to give kind of like a pre-warning that, hey, you all, just kind of think about this as we're going into this, it's not as easy as just like tearing up a contract and things like that. As far as the 5 or the 8%, and I understand what you're saying, but as far as the percentage is within the contracts. So the percent, for example, for Manager Alou, hers is 3% COLA, in her current contract is 3% COLA every year, 5% performance bonus. In Clerk Jacoby's, hers is 5% COLA in her contract every year, 3% performance bonus. That's in the current contract. So we don't just come up and say, you know, this, and that. It's in their current contract. For example, in Jacoby's contract, the clerk's contract, it says that if she doesn't get an evaluation within 2 months prior to her contract date, then she automatically gets the full 8%. So those are in the contract. So part of it is the evaluations, but part of it is the contract itself, which is why it would be coming into this first meeting, there's not enough knowledge to go through all of that in that way. But in the next meeting, there will be. So a lot of those things will be brought, you know, to a public administration and finance meeting. My point, though, in the beginning when I was speaking was that when we do the contract negotiations from the very beginning, those things are usually not done in a public sphere, or the evaluation is usually not done on the spot. But before we vote on it or vote on anything, we'll discuss it in the public sphere. Everybody will see it in the public sphere. Everybody can talk about what they like, what they don't like, what they think should change, and things like that. So it'll be all done in the public sphere.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the other questions? So why don't we, as a village who employs however many of people, why don't we kind of have some standardized contracts? Why does everything seem to be so bespoke negotiation? No offense, but you know, we don't have people working here who are exceptional talent. You know, you were talking about like music artists and athletes and stuff like that. There's nothing, you know, if we needed to get another manager or village clerk, you know, there's multiple candidates out there who, you know, would be available. So why don't we as a village have like a budget range like most employers would do of what they're willing to pay and compensate for a position, what they feel it's worth, and then also have a standard way that we do contracts. Of course, you could negotiate with individuals if you really want them, right? Change the contract, whatnot. But why do we have everything bespoke, no, you know, set budgets? Like the manager and clerk account for about 18% of our total village budget, which is huge in the scheme of things. That's not the case in other municipalities. I also know, you know, this is one of the first committee meetings that we've been having. A lot of the role of the clerk and the manager is to facilitate these meetings, also take what the council and chair people say and go do work, you know, behind and in front of the scenes regarding that. But we don't have regular council meetings. This is the first one of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so I disagree with you when it comes to the level and the quality of our employees. As far as I work with the manager all the time, and what the manager has accomplished and what we have accomplished, I think goes way far and beyond what others might think, I guess, what she's worth or how good she is. I will say this. Madam Manager, you still, I believe, are the lowest in the county. So, I mean, we can look for managers who, you know, who might want only 60 grand or 70,000 or things like that, but you kind of get what you pay for. All the managers that are managers of the 34, 35 municipalities, including Miami-Dade County, they're managers that have the experience of it. It's not just managing like you're managing a department store. It's managing, you have to have the knowledge of planning and things like that when you are managing in the municipal government. So we can agree to disagree.
One point of information, like our manager didn't have previous manager experience when she started on the job.
But
I'm not sure if the clerk did either. I also know we have the lowest overall budget, capital improvements, staff, of all the other regions in Miami-Dade. So yeah, you can say you're the lowest, but of course you should be the lowest. Look how much less you have to manage.
Yeah, well, I would say
ridiculously less.
Well, I would say a couple of things to that. I would say that Our manager not only was not a manager, but she worked in government before she came here. Our manager worked in government at the highest level. She worked in Washington D.C. With the Congress of the country before she came here. So she had loads of governmental experience before she came here, and even more governmental experience than a lot of other managers have working on that level. And then when she came down here to Miami, she worked in the county for years. So she went from Washington D.C. working with Congress to working for Miami-Dade County. For, at that time, County Commissioner Audrey Edmondson. And she was above that staff, and she was managing that staff also. So, so she does have loads of experience. I would say, what was the second thing that you said? After the experience?
The frequency of
Oh,
the
meetings.
meetings
The
that we
meetings.
have, the council meetings.
Yeah, the meetings. So the council meetings are previously scheduled, but the committee meetings, like this committee meetings you're talking about, the committee meetings are decided by the chairpersons that have them. So all the chairs decide when they're going to have their meetings. This is the Administration and Finance meeting. This is the first time this year you guys have Administration and Finance meeting, because Administration and Finance, myself and the manager, do it on a daily basis. The only thing that the Administration and Finance meeting that takes place, or why one needs to happen, is like the budget. But we have, when the budget season happened, we had a budget workshop and we had 2 budget hearings, right? And we had the special assessment. So we have those meetings. So that's right there, the budget workshop, 2 budget hearings, special assessment, that's 4 of those, right, in this calendar year. And now you have this meeting here where we're talking about money, we're talking about contracts, we're talking about evaluations. So I think, and the budget and the finances of El Portal is in great shape, because when I first came in as a mayor-elect, the state wanted to come and take us over the way they did Opelika a few years back because of our financial situation, and all that's going away and all that's been fixed. So I think we have meetings as we need to. Now, there might be other committees that might have to have meetings more often because it's needed. But because of, the pay of the people filming it, because of, our clerk being an hourly employee, because of different things, I was the type of person that we just don't have meetings just to have meetings. Like, if I'm going to have a meeting, I'm going to have a meeting because there's things to discuss in the meeting. So now the contracts, the evaluations, those type of things, so that we can get ready for the next budget hearing, the pay and those type of things, I felt needs to be discussed, so we have a meeting. But I'm never going to have a meeting just to have a meeting. So
Sure, no one's asking
understand.
for that. It does appear mightily convenient to not have any finance or admin meetings before the budget workshop, especially when multiple people come up, including Lightfoot Ward, who's not here today, requesting, hey, why aren't we meeting about this earlier? Why is this first time that we're seeing all of this?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one point. My last point in my appeal to the council people, their salaries equate for 18% of our total budget. I'm all for fairly compensating people for the value that they provide, but if they're not being used to facilitate a bunch of committee meetings and all of the other job duties that are occurring in these other municipalities, we should, why do we not have a budget range set, an idea of what our village can actually sustain, and look to fill the roles based on what's manageable with our finances? It's not manageable to have contracts that have no cap to it. We just continually to keep the same individuals over and over again. Of course, so the salaries continuing to go up is just not sustainable.
So I would say that Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, she brought that up in the second budget hearing, where she already had been through a budget workshop. She already had been through a first budget hearing. She already had been through the special assessment. Then she stands up at the second and final budget hearing and says, why is this the first time I'm seeing this? When she had been through a workshop, she had been through a first budget hearing, and she had been through a special assessment. So, you could take Councilperson Lightfoot Ward's words for gospel, but I wouldn't put too much into what Councilperson Lightfoot Ward says. That's the first thing.
May I say something when you're done?
Yeah, I got you, Council. Madam Vice Chair. The second thing I would say is that what you're talking about is valid, which is why that would be the discussion of when you're talking about capping or whatever whatever you're saying, that's part of
Salary
that.
range.
Yeah, salary range. That's part of the discussion of the contracts. And you're saying, why are the contracts like this? Okay, well then maybe that's part of the argument of why the contract should be broken, right? So I'm saying what you're talking about is discussed in this meeting, and was the reason why this meeting was made was part of that discussion. So what you're talking about is a detail of part of that discussion.
Okay.
So it's being discussed. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pulliam. Madam Vice Chair.
Yes, just a small comment. I hear all of your comments, and I as always, I take what you say and kind of really think about it. I do want to restate that when you're talking about a city manager, you're talking, they're more comparable to like a CEO of a company, right? So it's highly specialized work. And also highly individualized training to become a city manager and ascend and have some of the certifications that our manager does. So it wouldn't be something where you would do like a standardized lockstep contract as you would with someone who's, I don't know, like somebody you contract with, right? So these types of positions, CEOs, city managers, they come in and they negotiate their contracts. Most people that have these credentials, I mean, I know when I interview, I think the manager is an attorney as well. At that level, you expect to be able to come in and for there to be perks. In addition to that, I do believe that when the manager started, her salary was so low that I believe that those other enticements were placed in there so that someone would take the job. And I think that there was difficulty in finding people to sign up for that job at the salary. I do take what you're saying, that at this point, those enticements have kicked in and the manager's salary has grown. And some might say that that is an homage to the fact that she has done good work, and there has been no reason at this point to doubt that and to eliminate her in that position. But I get what you're saying, and I think the evaluations are a big piece of that, which is, hey, in March, we're going to engage in the task of looking at the salaries, looking at the performance, and saying, hey, is this the person that we endeavor to go forward with the current snapshot that we have? And I think that the process that the mayor is outlining is one that in the end will give us an idea of how we move forward. But I don't want it to be understated. This is a very sophisticated job. And though we don't see everything that the manager or the clerk does, and sometimes the things that we see will be things that we are not in agreement with. There will be decisions that we don't agree with. Or behind the scenes, there is a lot of work that goes into doing what she does. And I would proffer this. There are other municipalities where the percentage of compensation is lower. Those budgets are a lot bigger. And I do believe that if you look at those municipalities, in addition to the bigger budgets, there are also a tremendous more staff that is working on these issues. We have a manager and a clerk that have to be Jills of all trades. And I think part of that is what we consider when we look at the compensation. And also, I do believe, and I echo the mayor's sentiments, that even if we set a budget and say $90,000, that's all we're paying, you are going to have people who apply. I fear that you are not going to have people that are able to properly do the position. And I'll tell you this, I say this because I was chief of staff in Miami Gardens, and I also worked in North Miami closely with both city managers. Both city managers tremendously more compensated than our city manager, but I've seen the job firsthand and participated in some of the decisions day to day that it requires to keep this thing moving. And I know that you don't mean to belittle the job or the tasks associated, but I do want to underscore that this is big work that she's doing, that even if we decided in the future that she wasn't going to do it for the village of El Portal, I do think that she has been an awesome manager. I do think we have an awesome clerk. I do think that they're dedicated. They're here a lot of the time doing a lot of things that I would not be doing. I have seen the manager do public work jobs. I've seen her do public affairs. The clerk has done public affairs, code enforcement. They are wearing many hats, and I think that they have done a good job in getting the village to where it is. I think it's fair to have a conversation about where the village is going and if this is the team we need. But I do want to take a moment to personally say thank you to the clerk and the manager for all of the work and effort that you have put into keeping this ship going. I appreciate you. And also, Mr. Pulliam, I would love your continued input and feedback in this process as we determine how best to spend the city's money and who is going to be in the best position to get us to where we want to be. So I thank you for your comments.
Yeah, thank you. All I'd like to say to that is, so again, where I'm coming from, we're all taxpayers here for El Portal. Let's come up with what works for El Portal for now and into the future, not just allow all of these legacy things to continue and create problems down the line. Like, we can keep the same staff. If they're performing great, that's awesome. But does that mean we're going to be continuing giving them 8% plus raises year after year after they've already been receiving that for multiple years? Like, at what point is it not sustainable for a village who only has a budget of less than 2.5 million?
That's the conversation we're going to engage in from March to August, and I want us all to take a serious look at that. I know I will be looking at the contracts, I will be talking to the attorney, talking to the manager and the clerk about their performance, looking outward to other municipalities, and really engaged. And also, when you show up to those meetings, I know you were wondering whether or not you'll know what the reasoning is. I will be very clear as to what my reasoning is, what would be the numbers associated, and completely open to you letting me know if you agree or disagree. So we're about to engage in that. And what you're thinking is correct. We should be looking at that. But I can do both things. I can look at that, and then I can also look at them and say, good job. So,
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pulliam. Anybody else from the audience?
Mayor, I wanted to answer some of Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pulliam's questions. I know that when I started, I didn't have the experience with being a clerk. The day of today, I'm a certified clerk. So it involves, the problem with the position of the clerk, it's undervalued and underestimated because a lot of people don't know. We deal with laws, there's a lot of bad things on the end. When I started here, I didn't get a raise for the first 3 years. Then I got a raise. Then I waited another 3 years to get a raise. So it's not like I've gotten raises and raises and raises. So at the last meeting that we had the budget, we had one of the council members and the girl who works at Key Biscayne, nothing to do with our budget, but she got a 40% raise. Why? Because she had the merit increase for getting certified. So being certified puts you at another level. There is a lot of things that I do on the back end that helps other departments and I work. But I think the most important thing about the position of the clerk is that they don't understand the role. There's no way you can put a price on it if you don't know what the role entails. And that's one of the misconceptions. It's not just you, it's overall. So I hate to repeat this again, but I don't know if you were at the last meeting. I left for 6 months. And the mayor can tell you who applied for the position for 6 months. They didn't get anyone. And me helping them out so they can have and find somebody of value. So I think the most updated contract of the 3 positions is mine. And I think the council that's sitting now has voted on. And everything is a public record. I send it out and I try to be as transparent. I did change a lot of things when I came in here. When I came in here, the meetings that you're seeing now, that's one added value that I did because I wanted to be as transparent. But when I came in here, but simply not knowing, I updated and changed a lot of things to be as transparent. And as you know, you come, you ask me a question, I try to answer, I try to be as helpful as I can. But I think that one of the things is that, and it happens to all the clerks, the value of what the clerk does, it goes undervalued because nobody understands the role. That's it.
I think that's very well said. It's entitled some way that doesn't encompass how
It's
difficult and nuanced it is.
It is.
Hi, my name is Warner Dreher, 486 Northeast 87th Street, El Portal. So where I'm coming from is just a little bit of follow-up. I did attend the first hearing for the budget, the second hearing, and also the workshop. So I had a few things to follow up. The first one, I know during the last meeting, I know there was, on the second hearing, there was the request from the council for a list of the breakdown of the overtime, the hourlies, overtime, paid time, vacation time, and as a resident, we didn't get that actual numbers. So, and the request was specifically on the two positions, right, where Mr. Pulliam is heading towards. So I'm interested if that's available, that we get a breakdown of the overtime that the part-time position is projecting. No, I'm asking the council.
But I'm answering you. There's no
No.
overtime. I'm the one who puts in the time. I'm telling you, there's no overtime. There has been no overtime.
But again, I requested for the numbers, and is there the information available that can be shared with the residents?
Okay, Mr. Sia.
So we're looking for the previous fiscal year, not this current fiscal year.
I'll be very explicit. So I was in the workshop about 3 weeks ago, right? The workshop was for the FY 24-25, right? During the workshop, I was very explicit that I wanted to see the breakdown of the GL codes for the two positions, the clerk and the manager, explicitly looking, and the CFO looks at the clerk right now. So but let me finish. I was being very explicit to see the breakdown of the overtime for the clerk that's generating for what's gonna be projecting for the fiscal year for 2024, 2025. I wanted to see what was the actual vacation time paid for the current fiscal year 2020-24, and also sick time. We wanted to see the actual breakdown. One of the reasons why it's being requested is because I've heard it from the past that folks are saying, well, I haven't taken vacation, right? So that way we're just being a little bit more granular, right? Somehow we can track of that vacation time. So that's what I'm requesting. I think there was a motion put out on the council for I can hear the clerk all the way here just for the record. But that's what I'm asking, please, if that information is available.
So 24, 25.
Correct.
Yeah, which we can get
I'm
from,
almost,
but CFO is covered.
I'm almost certain that information was included in the budget,
It what?
and the budget's posted on the website. So I'm not sure what exactly it is what you're asking for that's not been provided.
Yeah,
I'll be very explicit. When the meeting, it was received, it was sent to us by the clerk. I'm not sure why you're looking at the rest of the folks when I'm addressing you, Mr. CFO.
I'm not
but-
sure what the attitude is all about.
No,
I'm here
but
trying to have a
I'm just
conversation.
trying to engage with you. So
Engage.
where I'm heading towards is when we were at the meeting as a resident, we did not get that information. Everything was null, blank values on those specific line items. So that's where I'm heading. Did the numbers actually were inputted as far as what has been taking as vacation for the FY 2024? What's going to be planned for the 2025? Was that not is that available?
Well, let's break this down. First, I believe the instructions were that an email was going to be sent to finance as far as what direction was going to be made. That was never done. However, we did take it upon ourselves to allocate and break out the expenses. It was reviewed by the manager as well as the mayor, and it was agreed that the information that was provided was sufficient and met the needs of the council, and that information was then uploaded onto the village website. So again, I'm not sure what the ask is. I believe what was asked was done.
I think the issue.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, again, I actually haven't looked at the website itself.
So before you come and attack me, because I feel that this is an attack, maybe you should get all your facts straight.
Okay, sorry if I came across to you that way, if it was an attack. But again, what I'm asking for, if there's a printout of that information from the website, so we can look at it.
So I think.
Does Mayor, do you have it, Mayor?
Yes, I think what the issue might have been, and yeah, so if you see here, here, you can take a look at this real quick. So if you see here, you'll see for the manager, you see like regular salaries, PTO, holiday pay, there's a number there, vacation pay, there's nothing because she didn't take vacation. Yeah, so that's for and the clerk is there. So that's for the manager and that's for the clerk, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
So that was my follow-up. No mean to attack you at any point. It was just, the information was not available to the residents. My second concern is, you guys spoke about contracts. Is that, I know Mayor Nickerson said you guys are gonna be distributing amongst each other. Is there a public request that I can make to receive the contract from the clerk and the attorney? I think we already have the managers. Is that something we could request? Yes?
September 25th, my contract is there from last year, what I send the residents. You can public request at any point. You know
Yeah,
how the
I'll-
process works.
Okay, perfect.
Not a problem.
All right, thank you. And also, my second inquiry, I know it's, we have a part-time position, right? When do we have?
Correction, hourly.
Last time at the meeting,
You need to
it
look at
was
the contract,
it's
it's
a part-time,
hourly.
so did that change? Mayor Nickerson, did they change from a part-time to a full-time position?
No, she's not salary, she's still hourly.
She's still hourly, okay. So it's a
It's
a
hourly.
part-time.
No, it's hourly.
So it's an hourly, how much is an hour then? Because it's broken down, how many hours a week?
You can public request. You're more than entitled to public request. You know that.
But if it's an hourly, you're answering an hourly, you can use.
It's an hourly. Should I be billing the city for the time that you call me or text me at an appropriate time?
Well, that's up
That's
to you.
costing
That's up
taxpayers
to you.
dollars. That's
That's
at
up to
midnight. I
you.
have texts, I have
I'm
stuff.
sure-
I can
That's
bill
up
the
to
city
you.
for that.
That's up to you, yeah.
I can bill the city
I'm
for
sure
that.
you have,
So
yeah.
then you're coming here to say
Well,
that,
I'll request a public request. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, obviously, the contract will be, and just a clarification, whether it's a part-time, full-time position, and how many hours a week are we expected from the clerk to be in the office also. That's where I'm heading to, and this is not against anybody. I feel like I'm being now, somehow, unfortunately, with the conversation, maybe it's not the approach she was expecting. But again, I'm a resident here. I would like to get granularity here, in full transparency here, and I don't think I have that from. There's been a lot of engagement, whether it's a part-time, full-time, whether how many hours a week is the clerk expected to work. But I just need that clarity, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And that's where we're starting that process, so.
Okay, unfortunately, I thank you very much for that process, but it's been since 2021, since I've been asking the council just to be a little bit more sort of conservative with the increased raises we're giving specifically the staff. I think we're at a point that it does not impact the performance. It's not a performance issue, but it's gotten to, and when I meet the staff, it's not anybody here from Public Works or anybody in that specific area. I'm being very explicit from the two positions. Since 2021, I've been sending emails to the council just expressing, hey guys, we see another year-over-year increase in the amount of salary. This is not a performance issue, but to Mr. Pullman's note, I agree. We have pretty much, we're limited. We're a budget 2.4 million. We're not a Fortune 500 company that we can say it's like a CEO. We're only limited to a 2 point.
I'm not talking about the budgets. I'm just talking about the responsibilities, like the far-reaching nature
Correct.
of the actual job, not comparing the dollar amounts.
Correct, but at the point, we gotta keep that in mind. We're just $2.4 million. It's been for the last maybe 2 years, I think. And the increases we were seeing of that budget is because of the property value increasing. So again, nothing against anybody's performance. Like I said it during the last meeting, I really appreciate the times that, Madam Manager, you've been out there to help out with the projects. I always bug you. But again, so my fourth question, it was regarding the CITT, right? So just to give some background here, I know some of the folks here, you weren't at the last council meeting.
We'll discuss that on
At
Public,
the Public
Public
Works.
Works Committee, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. And then the fourth item, the fourth item is I just want to see if you guys have any calendars coming up, scheduling this recurring meetings. I know we haven't had this finance and admin meeting. I know you guys mentioned about maybe between March and August, you're going to be reconvening. But I know in the past, there was always already scheduled calendar out there by each of the committee heads. Do we have something available for that?
So the calendar comes out in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
The beginning of the calendar year. So the calendar, myself and the clerk will work on the calendar, and the calendar comes out when like January rolls around. The reason why, and I'll say it again, the reason why we did not have scheduled meetings on the calendar previously is because under the previous administration, all the meetings would be scheduled. We would come to the meetings and we were wasting our time. We were meeting just to meet. So if there's something that's going on in public safety, which is the police department, which myself and the manager deal with the police department on a daily basis, if there's nothing new to talk about, I'm not going to schedule a meeting, pay them, pay her, she's hourly,
Correct.
and bring things out here to be like, hey, you guys, we're just having a public safety meeting because it's just scheduled. I hope everybody's doing well. Are you feeling safe? Okay, thank you. Motion to adjourn. No. I decided to change things up, and I do things more quality than quantity, right? So as these meetings are needed, then I have them. And every chair, now I can't talk for anybody else, but every chair is in charge of having the meetings, you know, they schedule their meetings. And so that's how it works. I'm the chair of public safety and administration and finance.
Okay.
So if something's going down with the police department, I schedule a meeting. If something's going down where evaluations, contracts, pay, and stuff like that, then I'm scheduling this meeting. We will have another meeting, which will be on the calendar. We will have another meeting at the end of March, early April, and we will have another meeting around August or July, August sometime. So
right.
those will be on the calendar
Great.
for sure.
And then another question. I know there was some conversations on seat number 1. I'm sorry, on seat number 2, right? There were some questionings about the whole application process for that council seat number 2, right? Is there anything you guys can share specifically about what happened, right? I know maybe I misunderstood. I was at a workshop. You guys said something specifically about a potential special elections. From that moment on that meeting, whatever happened?
I think it was handled. Attorney Geller was in contact with the election department, and I think it got
Well,
handled.
is there any details there that you guys can specifically say why the elections
Madam
department
Clerk,
had to get involved?
Do you have any more details?
The attorney actually just handled it, and he just told me that everything was good. That's from there on. That's it. That's all the information I have.
That's all information we got.
Okay.
So.
All right, and just for the record, next time if somebody calls you, at least I wasn't aware, if I did call out the clerk over hours, if it was, next time I will not do it because I didn't even know that she was billing me at that time if I inquired
I
about
have
something,
never
just
billed
for
the
record.
city, and you've called me at midnight.
Uh.
No clerk will ever answer at midnight.
Yeah.
Werner, please, you know better. No, we've
Yeah.
discussed this.
And-
I've never billed the city for all the conversations we've had, and I could bill the city.
Yeah.
But I did never do that. And many
And-
things I
and-
do that I never bill the
And
city.
you used to call me at midnight too.
No, I've returned your call.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dreher. Thank you very much, Mr. Dreher. Anybody else from the audience? Hearing, seeing none? Oh, yes, go ahead, Mr. Pulliam.
Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. Just wanted to respond to what you had said earlier, Ms. Jacoby. So it sounds like, I mean, taking everything at face value, it really sounds like the village, the government entity, and also the manager's role hasn't really been served through the contracting process. And if that's the case, it obviously puts both of you in a very precarious spot as well, which is extremely unfortunate. This is, again, a request from our council people. Can we clean up the precarity there and have something that's just straightforward? And part of that as well do we have job descriptions for these roles? I would figure, everyone says, oh, it's so much more than you would entail. You mentioned that. I can't disagree that. But I also have no transparency or visibility into what is the actual job description. To your point here at our village, it's more of a Jack and Jill of all trades. So that should be reflected in our very bespoke job description that we have for these positions, along with the salary range, requirements for the job, etc. Part of that job description as well, why is any government work happening outside of regular business hours, 9 a.m. to, I think it's 4:30, the office closes down? Also the people in the roles, obviously you don't need to respond outside of office hours, right? But it sounds like there's, the village, I guess previous people who've been running the village came up with the contracts, who knows, but have put, our staff in a very precarious situation. It obviously frustrates the residents quite a bit. And it seems like there's been, for a period of some time, a lot of requests to get that cleaned up. So I am glad to hear that, in, I think, the spring, you said, that we'd have conversations around the contracts. My request would be, are there going to be job descriptions that go along with that? And do those job descriptions currently exist?
So the job description for the manager currently exists. The job description for the clerk it's in her charter.
Okay.
But we have to just kind of pull it out, and we could pull it out and separate it as like a separate job description.
And may I also add something,
Of course.
Mayor Nickerson, please? I didn't have an opportunity to speak about what you stated, but Clerk Jacoby covered it very well in terms of just all the work that we have to do. When I became the manager here in 2017, a lot of things weren't being done, and it was in a catch can and try to clean this up and do it on your own. There was no staff to do those things, so not only did I have to be the manager, but I had to be the support staff, the project manager, the program manager, all those roles to make that function.
Grant writer.
The grant writer, the grant tracker, all of those things. The public works director for years. And I didn't get a raise for the first 3 years
And is
either.
that in your job description?
No, it's not.
Okay, I
So-
feel like it should be.
Well,
Again, I think the village is
I
doing
know,
a disservice.
but what I'm trying to say is, but in order for us to be able to function, I had to serve the extra roles. So I agree, I would love to see that, because then you will see. I'm sure when you looked at other municipalities and you saw the percentage of what the raise or what the salaries were, but did you also look at their support staff, their teams? That is the totality of what represents my 10% or so, whatever it is that I'm representing within the budget. So that would be the staff roles, and I don't have those. So I agree. I think that this is going to give us all an opportunity to just see what the manager does, what the clerk does, and hopefully what the attorney does.
Great. Yeah, I look forward to having that transparency and hopefully getting the job descriptions and contracts cleaned up, so we never have to have conversations like this again.
Yeah, so
Would
this,
be
and
great.
yeah, no, absolutely. This is exactly why we're having
Okay,
it, for
great.
those reasons. And the reason why, and this is not to you, this is to everybody, so, but the reason why you guys are seeing this now is because it was needed to happen now. You all have to understand, so there's a couple things. So first of all, let me just say this, just to kind of close that out. Every municipality in Miami-Dade County, except for Biscayne Park, the manager has a deputy manager or an assistant manager. Look, he's even shaking his head because he works in a deputy manager or assistant manager, and they don't make $30,000 a year, people. The deputy manager or assistant manager do not make $50,000 a year, people. So when you're looking at that, look at the manager's salary, add it to their deputy manager, and then they'll have a staffer under that. You have to add all of that. And you'll see that the manager salary in these other places is $400,000, $380,000. That's what you'll see. Look, even Mohan's shaking his head. He's a professional. He works everywhere also. Yeah, he works everywhere also. So you'll see that. So when you look at that, just kind of understand that. Also understand that in a place like El Portal, the reason why we do so much more is because we don't have to. So in essence, it's almost like in a place like El Portal, we work individually harder than everywhere else because we have to keep things running the right way. We can either say, man, I don't get paid for this. It's not in my job description. If it sinks, it sinks. We can either have that attitude, or we could say, this is hard work, but there's no other mayor. I take calls at any time of the day or night, right? I understand what you were talking about. You're talking about in staff that work like.
Yeah, we're not discussing any contractor compensation you're making, which is basically.
No, I understand at Village Hall, but from the mayor to the council, like we all do stuff that no other individual in our positions doing at any other municipality in Miami-Dade County. Biscayne Park and manager, you've been working on this for what, 5-6 years? 6 years. So Biscayne Park, they hired a manager. First year, he's making almost $100,000. So imagine if he would have been making how much he would have been making if he was 6 years in. It wouldn't have been the same $100,000. And he's so upset. The Mayor Groth from Biscayne Park called me the day after it happened. He's so upset that he feels like, and he has a staffer. He just quit. And when they put that out to bring him in, they didn't even find somebody qualified enough in Miami-Dade County. They got him from Kansas or Kentucky or something like that. I think it was Kansas.
What's wrong with Kansas?
There's nothing wrong with Kansas. There's nothing wrong with Kansas. Remember Irvine, nothing wrong with Kansas.
I couldn't tell you what's wrong with Kansas.
No, it's all good. But I just wanted to say that. I want to say, just to kind of close this out, is that, like I said, you guys before, when I came in, the finances were all crazy. Priority number one was making sure El Portal existed and the state didn't come take us over. So I worked on that for a long period of time. Priority number two was shoring up our police department, which is all the changes you all see. I think what happens a lot of times also, which is no fault of anybody's at all, no fault of anybody's at all. And I really understand where newer residents are coming from because they weren't here to see before I was mayor how it was. So a lot of people that now are coming in are like, why didn't you guys do this? Like what's going on? Why isn't this already done? But they didn't see all the changes this administration had to make when it came in, all the saving it had to do. Now, if I would have came in and when I was mayor-elect and this administration came in, if we would have came in and we came in even at level 0, not even level 5 or level 10, if we came in at level 0, then I could have came in and been like, oh, okay, well, that's done, that. Okay, well, now I can focus on this. But I came in at like a -20, where it was like, what's this? Where's the money? This and that, this and money, this and that. FEMA situation, this over here. Letters from the state. Financially, they're looking to take us over. What's the term they use? On the phone with Attorney Geller. We're on the phone with Attorney Geller. Attorney Geller's like, oh, that's the term they use. Oh, that's what they use with Opalaka when Opalaka went into their hole and the state wanted to financially take them over because they were just financially in the hole and they weren't coming out of it and their budgets weren't done right. And we were 4 or 5 audits behind, 3 audits behind. And so we came in under that. So before I could even consider going through contracts word by word to see what's going on, I had to deal with that. And then the police department was a wreck. And I told Manager Lou, I said, Madam Manager, we got to clean up the police department for anything else because if somebody doesn't feel safe in their home, they don't give a damn about streets or the sewer or if they don't feel safe in their home, that's the number one thing is safety. So then that was like a 8-month situation to take the officers that were here for decades and weren't doing anything, and the whole place was apart, and you had cliques, and you had, oh, these officers over here don't talk to these officers over here, and this officer over here used to date that officer over there, and they broke up, so they hate each other. And this officer over here hates this officer over here because he passed up his friend 5 years ago for a promotion. And officers getting drunk on the job. But guess what? Because of the officers' union, I couldn't just fire everybody and clean house. You got to do it systematically. That took a year and a half. So there was other things that we had to do before getting to this stuff. So it's not that when you all are acting like we just neglected it, it's not that. It's that things had to happen. Oh, and now it's time. Now I have the time. Now I don't have to think about the police department. Now we have cap government and other individuals. We have a real public works individual. We finally have code enforcement. We finally have all, we didn't have these things. We didn't have code enforcement car, public works truck, all this stuff. We didn't have this stuff before I became mayor. But now that it's there, now I don't have to every single day have to deal with it. Now I can look and say, what's next? And I remember maybe like, even to up here to the council and the committee, I was like, oh, I'm going to start looking into fixing up the internal stuff. Didn't I say that before? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was able to pivot the priority. And so this is the priority now. So we weren't ignoring it. It's just other stuff we had to fix first. But now it's time to fix this. All right, so it's right on time.
I get there's a lot of competing priorities, and I'm glad that it is being addressed now. The other thing I'd like to say is, again, kind of looking at creating custom job descriptions that really fit our village and a budget range for that. If the village needs a manager who does all the staff positions, that is what it is, and that's the type of manager we should have. But we should also look at, when we're setting budgets, hey, what's the value difference between a manager who's more of a people manager of staff versus a manager who's doing all these lower level positions that could be paid a lower rate than what a manager is earning. Yeah. So I'm just asking for, fiscal responsibility. Seems like things have been a mess for a long time. I'm glad that, it's going to be looked at.
No, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Last thing I'll also just say really quickly, part of the cleaning up process that even occurred before this, when I kind of started to look more internally, when I started to say those type of things, was the clerk, per her contract that she had, the previous administration, they hadn't been even like doing it. So yeah, they weren't even keeping up with it. So I was like, okay, even if we consider breaking or something like that, we got to first catch her up. And for years it wasn't done. So that's why if anybody sees like, oh, why was the jump so big? That's why it was so big. Because we had, and I think the same with you, like for PTO and stuff like that. So we had to catch. So I was like, all right. We got to catch them up. Then we can start to look at breaking. Because if we try to break it without even catching them up, well, then they're gonna take us to court. We're gonna pay them. We're gonna pay them 3 years salary. But thank you guys. I appreciate it. Is there anybody else from the council or committee? Go ahead,
just one
Vice
thing.
Chair.
When you guys do get that list, that job description list, if we try to be super thorough, it's going to be a very, very long one, because the truth of the matter is that when you're doing this type of work, you never know what's going to be required. And I know, like, when you have a regular occupation, you clock off at 5 o'clock and that's it. But this city manager, one second, I'm speaking, thank you. The city manager position, city clerk position, they're in the crisis management business too. And sometimes those crises happen out of hours, right? So something will happen and they'll have to respond to keep the lights on, literally, if there's a street sign, if something happens, or there's a emergency afoot, or you get a text message from a local municipality or a neighboring municipality. All of these things pop up, and sometimes they pop up at inopportune times. And I am thankful that we have a staff that's willing to respond and put in the extra effort so that we, on the other side, and I include myself as one of the we's because I'm a resident, we can just wake up and think it's a normal day because you have been kind of toiling and burning the midnight oil to make sure that all is well in the village. So I do appreciate that, and I look forward to that job description. I think we should make it as thorough as possible. I think what I'm hearing from the audience is that they want a thorough understanding of what these jobs are, and I think we should give them that. I think we should give them a detailed view of what it takes to run a village, not just because we're trying to prove a point, but I also think it's a really important thing for residents to know what government does, how it functions, and also I think this is a good time to invite some of our residents that might have comments to participate more fully in some of these committees and other opportunities that we're going to put forward for you to actually take an active role in making sure that your village is working for you. So I appreciate all the comments tonight.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Mr. Pulley.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for speaking out of turn. I'm sorry if I interrupted you as well.
No worries.
Would like to say I do not appreciate other, people who work in the private sector, their position being denigrated. Nobody I know gets to clock out at 5. When you're a salary position, you oftentimes work more than 40 hours and you don't receive overtime. In addition, the retirement benefits that both our hourly clerk and then the full-time manager are receiving, I don't know about other charter positions, it might be the same, I don't know, but those retirement benefits are way above and beyond what anyone earns in the private sector as well. So I don't appreciate this game of like, oh, they're doing so awesome, we don't need to know anything, they're barely being compensated, we can't find anyone better. Like, I don't know that to be the case.
No, I do need to take this one.
Yeah.
That's a misstatement. The entire time that we've been talking, I've said that the endeavor to figure out whether or not they are correctly suited for the position is a valid one and one that I look forward to. So there's never been a time that I've said that there wasn't a necessity for transparency, because I am a big proponent of that. That's why I've always championed having these evaluations done. And if you want to look at all of the meetings, you will see that that statement is supported by those facts. So I do think that transparency is important. Those evaluations are important. I am not saying that they will continue to be with us. I am just saying that there's a world that I can live in that says, hey, let's look at this and analyze whether or not this is how we want to go forward without denigrating what has happened. In my opinion, and I'm allowed to have an opinion, I've been satisfied with the work that I've seen. You're allowed to have an opposing opinion. What we both agree on is the necessity for transparency and evaluations. That's number one. Number two, I do know people that can clock out at 5 o'clock and leave their jobs and go. And I envy those people because I think that that's awesome. I would like to have that mental break and clear cut off as well. And for a time I did have that because I stayed home with my boys for a while, although that wasn't very restful. But what I will say is I do not in any way denigrate that. I just say that there's a difference. With certain, and I was hearkening back to a comment that you made about creating very clear-cut hours. And if I misunderstood your statement, I apologize for that. But I don't want to have my statement mistaken. The majority of my family members are blue-collar workers that get to clock out, so I know very many of them. And when I make that statement, I mean that there's a difference in function, not a difference in quality. I think everybody that's doing an honest day's living should be commended for that, and there would never be a time where I would have anything but the utmost respect for those people that get to clock out at 5 o'clock, or those people that work until and burn the midnight oil. I'm just saying that this manager position, the clerk position, are positions that require kind of this ad hoc crisis management. So I hope that in clarifying that, you understand more firmly my position, and I think I understand yours.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I would equate these staff positions to white-collar positions, not a blue-collar position, which has less responsibility. Oftentimes, they're employees.
Yes, I
In
agree
addition,
too.
you did say previously, you can go to bed knowing that the manager and clerk, are doing everything they're supposed to. I mean, good for you, but again, where's the transparency or any information
hopefully this
regarding that.
process gets us all to that point. And I think this is an active conversation that doesn't have like a terminal point tonight, but is something that we can engage in going forward through those staff job descriptions and when we look at the contract so that we can better understand each other. So tonight I will say, I know this is a heated conversation. Everyone has valid points, and everyone, I think, is violently agreeing and moving towards the same end goal, which is increased transparency and understanding if these positions are serving us in the way we want to be served.
Yeah, great. And is that an analysis as the interim or the, what is it, part-time CFO would endeavor, or that's just the chairperson of finance, which is you, or?
Yeah, so as far as overlooking the
Well, the job description, the contracts, and then also, what is within our operating budget, what is, a feasible budget range for these positions?
Yeah, it's usually the chair of the committee. Sometimes it'll be two people. It may be the chair of the committee and another member of the committee that might also join. And sometimes the chair of the committee can assign two other members of the committee or another member of the committee. So
Okay, so I guess in this case, to be determined.
to be determined on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, can I say something? It's a
Yes.
little funny about the retirement. I didn't want to pay for retirement because we also have to contribute. So I was like, listen, I'm the type of personality that I want my stuff now. That's just me. So that was something that I was told it's mandatory. And at the beginning, they actually made a mistake, and I didn't get paid for retirement for a while. When I found out, it was like, okay, I have to pay. No, I don't want to pay. So if there's no way around that one. I think it comes with every government job that has this kind of position. But if it was up to me, trust me, because it comes out of my pocket too.
Yeah, FRS is something that they have to. Yeah, 3%. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Dre.
Just, again, 486 Northeast 87th Street, El Portal, Florida, Warner Dreher. Guys, just for the record, I loaded up the budget on my phone. I can bring it up to you if I may.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers, what you have here on your Excel,
Yeah.
does not include the numbers that updated for what we requested here, for example.
Yeah, I think the budget that was shared on the website is not the numbers that Mr. CFO sent us, right? With a little sheet that
It's not
Okay.
the same CFO.
Okay. All right. Well, I
We'll-
remember
we'll
that
change that.
that change occurred late, right? So we were
Correct.
toward the end of the budget, and then you came with the so maybe it
Correct.
wasn't up there.
But to the
Yeah.
statement that was just made tonight, specifically from the CFO, go to the website, you have, and I went to the website as you guys, and so I would appreciate it. How soon can we get it updated with the numbers? Okay, thank you. And at no time, Mr. CFO, it was no disrespect towards you. We're just trying to be clear here as residents. As Council Martin said, we're just in the next steps to being transparent with the whole process, not against anybody to have, we're concerned about any performance, but we have certain limitations, and I think we need to adhere to those limitations from the village.
No, absolutely. Let me just say, for the record, that the one that I have here is not one that I got after the budget hearings. So this was the last one we voted on at the final budget hearing. So this one should have been the one that went out when Clerk Jacoby sends out the information. No, she sent it for the meeting, like the Friday before or whatever. This one was included into that last final budget hearing. It should have been. It just wasn't updated on the website, which we apologize for.
No,
but just
no
know that
worries.
this is the one we voted on. So, I mean, I guess we're at an official meeting, so they're going to tell you to do a public records request. But I was going to say,
Yeah.
I have this in my, I can send it to you too. Like, I have
Awesome.
it.
If whatever
We
it
will
needs to be.
update it
Yes,
as
thank
soon
you.
as
On the
possible in the
website, yeah.
morning. Our webmaster is,
Okay.
not working at this time, but we'll
No,
have that
no
addressed
need to.
in the
Yeah,
morning.
exactly. No urgency. And I did submit the public request for the clerk's contract.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dre. Appreciate it.
you.
Uh,
Do you mind if,
Go
by
ahead.
any chance, because it's already 7:40, and I came here to talk about the CITT. Is it, if you,
Yeah, let's do
if you don't mind? just-
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So during the last council meeting, during the last budget hearing, first hearing, second hearing, right? I was very persuaded by the council to say, go Werner, reach out to CITT, right? You are asked, and I did, right? The reason why I reached out, because I have my concerns about the surfacing, about the potholes around the village. I invite you, everybody, to drive around the village. I sent you more than 50 pictures of a PowerPoint presentation. So I went ahead, I contacted CITT. For the record, I didn't have a contact name there. I just said, hi, my name is Werner. I'm reaching out because I was asked by the council, right, some of the council members to reach out. And basically, I was eventually connected with Ms. Price. I went ahead, Ms. Price, we need more money for our budget, for our roads, right? She said, well, Werner, let me break it out to you. Since 2021, you guys, the money's been frozen, right? So basically, I think she documented everything. She sent you, Madam Manager, the email. I might have forwarded to some of the council members. Mayor Nickerson, you're included. So, but basically, I just want to know where we at with the CITT. I think it's about $344,000, right? Just to make sure we're in compliance with the CITT funds, and what would be the next steps.
If I may, Mayor Nickerson, thank you.
Go ahead, I'll jump in.
Yes, actually, the CITT explanation and everything is on the manager's report for this month. It should be on the website. And as a matter of fact, talking about what we're discussing about the manager's ability to actually tackle a lot of areas where she's not supposed to, or that she's not actually by contract in any mean not responsible, because she's financially responsible for the whole village, period. But being she doesn't have the staff necessary to actually back a lot of the stuff, was impressed actually by I guess there's annual meeting, the CITT headquarters or whatever you call it, that there were 4 municipalities up for meeting, and the only one showing up was actually Mrs. Alou and Mr. Probably Campi, right? Campi, yes. So out of the 4 municipalities, everybody else had a Zoom meeting, and thank you for that. You guys showed up and you guys presented. You did your little presentation. You were required, I understand, a project analysis or something like that you guys weren't aware of. You submitted it. For what I understand, the audit is already on the way, and we should get those $344,000 anytime, soon. With that money, it's expected to actually, start doing some road repairs and all of that. But if Mr. Mayor, I know you might want to say something about the audit and how we got here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Vice Mayor. I appreciate that. Let me just kind of paint you guys a picture of how this happened. So, as Mr. Dreyer said, he was talking about road repair. That's the CITT funds, okay? CITT funds, because of the past financial situation I always talk about, they put those funds on hold. What happened was this. Mr. Dreyer came here, he was standing over there, he was talking about the road repair and things like that. I think Manager Alou mentioned the CITT funds, and Councilperson Ward said, I used to be a part of CITT funds, or whatever, and we said, why don't you contact the CITT? He contacted CITT. So check this out. This is exactly what happened. Mr. Dreyer contacted CITT. They told Mr. Dreyer, oh, you all are on hold. You all don't have this money because you all haven't turned in certain things, specifically a 5-year plan you all were supposed to have turned in. So Mr. Dreyer contacts us and says, hey, they're saying that you guys are missing things, specifically this 5-year plan you were supposed to do.
In the financial reports,
In the
there was
audits,
questions on the financial.
in the financial reports with the audits. So let me check this out. Check out what happened. That happened, I don't know if it was a Tuesday, maybe something like that, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that occurred. We hear about that. We know that's incorrect. I'm sitting in the office with Manager Lou. Manager Lou calls Miss Price. She's, Manager Lou was kind of like, you've been
Yeah,
lying.
She was triggered to call
So-
Ms. Price because of the information I shared with
Yes,
you, right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
check this out. She calls Miss Price. We're on the phone. It's on speakerphone. I say to Miss Price, because Miss Price says, well, I'm waiting for your CFO to do the 5-year plan. Exactly what she says on the phone. This is the day after he contacted them, mind you. I said, well, Ms. Price, so I'm thinking that the CFO has been messing up. So I said, Ms. Price, I said, send me, or send us, I said, send myself and Manager Lou. I said, send us exactly what you sent to the CFO. Because I'm thinking that we're going to get an email of her reaching out to the CFO 4 or 5 times, send us the 5-year plan, and the CFO is just slacking, and we were going to get on the CFO. We hang up the phone. She sends us the email. She sent the email to the CFO the day prior, right after he calls her.
Yeah, but just so you guys were caught surprisingly because you guys didn't know the funds were frozen.
No, we
since
knew.
20
No, we knew the funds were frozen. We always.
Known for years.
Okay,
Yeah.
but then to my
We
question.
always knew the funds were
But
frozen.
to my question, why would you guys send me to speak with CITT
I didn't-
knowing that the funds were not frozen?
I didn't. That's just what you were. You were listening to Ward. Who told you that? Ward told
No,
you.
I brought it up here to everybody,
But I
all
didn't
of
tell-
you.
I didn't
No
tell you
one,
that.
at no moment you guys say, "Hey, Werner, there was very explicit. Hey, go talk to them because they will listen to you as a resident and they will give you more money." So everybody, you guys.
I didn't tell you that. First of all,
But somebody, okay,
S-
you
somebody
didn't tell
mi-
me
yes,
that.
somebody
But
might have
somebody
said-
would have corrected somebody and said, "Listen, you don't ask for anything more money because."
no. This is what I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you why what happened. First of all, I never said that. I would never tell. Everybody who knows me knows that I work 24/7. As a mayor, you can call me mayor. I lost my cat. Mayor, my tree's down. Mayor, this. Mayor, that. So I would never tell somebody to do something that I can do myself. I've never asked anybody in my entire life. That's just the way I am. So I never asked you to do that.
Oh, no.
What happened was, I'm gonna tell you what happened. What happened was that Dr. Ward started talking. I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened. And she started talking about, I'm CITT and I used to work CIT. You should reach out to him. You should reach out to him. And she went on a tirade which sucked all the air out of the room, and nobody could say nothing or say anything straight. Look at JR's face. Nobody could say nothing or say anything straight. So she ended up getting the last word, and she doesn't know what she's talking about. And so then you leave with that misinformation, and you go from there. That's what ended up happening, because myself and the manager, CFO, knows we.
But you guys,
When it-
if somebody comes out here, right, there's a responsibility that Ms. Ward, we know the status. Please don't send the resident, talk to CITT. The manager's been to the committee meetings, as Councilperson Pirella says. The update is, yeah, we have, we have the funds frozen, and we don't need you to go ask for more money because we're working to get the monies unfrozen. But at no point, my point is, and I'm not judging your performance about calling you, and I know I bug you, all of you guys. Even the clerk says I bug her a lot. But the point is, you guys, no one said it, right? Hey, Werner, don't even ask for more money because the funds are frozen.
When
But anyways,
no, because this is important. This is important. This is
where
important.
I'm at is where are we with?
No,
with-
yeah, I'm
did we
gonna
submit the fund?
say that, but this is
Yeah.
important because clarity needs to be. And what I'll do also, what we can do also, I can look back at the transcripts from that meeting.
Yeah.
And at a future meeting, next council meeting, I can bring the transcripts and you
Yes.
can see exactly what either myself. Because I'm telling you what happened, and that's exactly what happened. And part of the reason that happened is because Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, when she gets into that mode where she starts to talk and doesn't want to listen, she's rude to me. She doesn't let me get a word in inchwise, and she goes on a rampage. And so that's what ended up happening, and that's what led you with that misinformation to do that.
Yeah.
But what ended up, but we know what's going when it comes to the finance and stuff like that. We've been on top of that since day one. So what ended up happening was, so for months, we're thinking that the 5-year plan is good. But hold on, Harry, hold on. It was a third quarter report.
No, but it's also, I'm sorry to say two things. One, just to clarify, it was the third quarter report, and to add to it, one point that you should note also is that when the third quarter was submitted, I noted to Ms. Price, let me know.
I
if
was
this
going
is
to get to that. I was going to
sufficient,
get to that.
And
Yeah.
if not, please
I was going to get to
advise.
that. I was going to get to that.
Thank you, sir.
I was going to get to that. No, thank you. I appreciate it. CFO Tuberfeld. But
And it was 2 months.
I appreciate that. So he submits the report. So then I'm asking Harry for his emails, and I'm seeing that he submitted the report, and he said in his email, if there's anything that's incorrect, if there's anything more you need, let me know. She didn't even acknowledge the report until you call her.
No, when I spoke with her, she was very explicit. She says, "Hey, Werner, I'm waiting for some questions to be answered on the finance." And then, by the way, I'm supposed to. I have another question that I'm going to be sending the manager. She said, and that was it. And then I said, "Okay, so who do I need to follow up with? Just keep coming back to your municipality, right? Keep what you've been doing, asking for where are you with the CITT." So that's where she said. And basically, then she sent me an email with the upcoming public meetings. So that was it.
So Ms. Price lied. Because in our mind, we sent her the report. He said, if there's anything I need to change, any questions you have, let us know. She didn't let us know anything. You reach out to her and say, what's up to CITT? We call her the next day, and as far as knowing, when myself and the manager, when we're sitting there, we're talking, we're like, this is exactly what we're saying. We're like, why is everybody coming in at the 11th hour? We already know everything that's going on with this. We already know what we need to do. We're like, everything's on it, like everything's on its path. That's what we were telling each other. We were like, why is everybody coming in at the 11th hour trying to do, we already know what's going on. Everything's already coming. Like, why are they acting like we weren't doing anything? That's what we were saying the entire time. Because I'm sitting in her office and we're saying it. So then we said, man, let's just call Ms. Price ourselves because, and Manager Lou said, I talk to her all the time. And she never says nothing. Ms. Price was lying. She never says nothing. So then you call her, then we call her, and she's like, well, I've been waiting on the CFO. I'm like, well, send me what you see on the CFO. We look at what she said on the CFO. It's from the day prior.
Yeah, she said she was going to send you guys an
So
email because that was part of the process you guys were working
so
on.
she made it seem
Yeah.
like, well, if Village Albert Tile is out of compliance because you guys aren't submitting what you're supposed to submit. When she didn't even respond to the submittal until she spoke to you, acting like she's waiting on us because she made you seem to you like she's waiting on us. No, we're waiting on you.
But the point here, I'm not blaming anybody, right?
No,
Whether
but
it's her fault or your fault.
It is.
Yeah,
It does need to be pointed out.
But where are we now?
I'm getting
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
So we got that. So the plan submitted. So
Good.
we're waiting on. So we're waiting. So this is a finale.
Listen to us, Ms. Price.
So we're waiting. Yeah. So we're waiting on one audit to be submitted. That's past due for us to catch up.
It's on our side?
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, on our side.
Okay.
So this audit was missing one thing.
What is it?
It was missing a questionnaire for Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. For how many months? For 5 months.
So she's the.
Hold on. So, and we sent that questionnaire to Councilperson Lightfoot Ward 8 times? 9 times. So the person who was sitting up here yelling about the CITT and yelling at me, disrespecting me as she always does, was the person holding up the CITT stuff.
But why would it go
What
to
an
her, though?
irony.
Why would it go to her, that question, though?
Because
What's
we
her
all
role?
did it, we all had it, and we all submitted it when we got it.
Oh, okay. So the CITT asked from all of you guys, and
because to
hers
finish
was
the
outstanding?
audit, you
Okay.
need that questionnaire.
Gotcha.
So she's the only one. So we're waiting on her. We were waiting on her. Still, we all did it. when we were supposed to. Still, she still didn't do it. What we had to do today, after even reaching out, is we had to have somebody personally deliver it to her house so she could fill it out and personally go pick it up.
That's why I was asking what happened with the whole process with
That's what
seat
we had
number
to do.
2. Whatever happened?
And that was,
Where-
and
where
that
is-
was today. So that's going to finish. So we're going to finish out that audit, and we'll be all caught up, and then hopefully the funds will start to be released as soon as
Madam
possible.
Manager, yes.
Thank you, Mayor Nickerson, for that, because that is exactly how things happen. But I do want to also say, we still need more money from CITT, so that's not.
Should I go again?
Wait,
I'm
give us
kidding,
the
I'm
money.
kidding,
Give
I'm not
us
going anywhere.
just let us get the audit to them, and then we're done. But we would still, because we only get $110,000 annually, but it's based on population,
Yeah.
and that's how we get those funds. So it's not a lot. Remember, we've got a 2019 road estimate for repair at $2.2 million. So
Yeah.
we only getting 110. That's
So-
not
so-
enough.
But she said it was 344, right? Right.
Because
No,
it's
it's
annually, but it's
frozen.
past
But-
years. It's
Right,
annually.
just for those 3 years.
3 years, right now we have frozen 344. Yeah, exactly. That's what
Right,
you said.
to present, so that's 344. Now, 20% of that has to go to transit. 80% we can use for road repair.
Awesome. Yeah.
However, we have a lot of priority areas that need help.
Yeah.
And so
That-
I've mentioned this to the vice mayor, to Councilperson Martin and Urbam and the mayor. We could pick out an area
You
because
guys-
that's not going to
exactly.
get us very far, but we should pick out an area to focus of that funding for.
Okay. No, but I'm glad everybody's in sync, everybody's knows the next steps. But just so I'm clear though, so there was an audit, right? All 4 council members submitted their feedback. So are we just to be clear, are we pending on the last council member to submit her feedback, or did we submit it already? Just so I'm clear.
We didn't submit it. We just got it from her.
And
What does that mean? We just
We
got
just
it?
received the
Her
question.
feedback, the
Yeah.
council?
Today.
Her questionnaire. Yes, we all
Okay,
have to
her
do the
completed
yes.
council, okay.
Yes.
The form in question is a form that is required for the annual audit, not the CIT audit, not the CITT audit. The annual audit that needs to be completed, and then at the same time, when that's completed, we need to file the annual report with the state. That form that the auditors were waiting on was one of the things that was required to complete the audit. It is now under partner review. We hope to get the audit in the next week to 2 weeks. That's
And
the
that's
goal.
the last thing.
So are they waiting, is CITT waiting till the
And
time
at
we?
that point, CITT, we'll notify CITT that the audit has been filed with the state.
With the state, okay.
And we'll send them a copy of the audit. And at that point, I'd like to think we're in compliance, but over the last 6 months, they tend to move the goalposts. Hopefully, they won't move them again.
Okay, so what's your projected timeframe on the submittal to the state?
It's out of our hands. Again, it's at the it's at the auditing, the accounting firm's hands.
Oh, the accounting firm submits it?
No, we submit it. Once we
Okay,
get the
that's what I'm
final
asking.
report, submittal takes no time. We're just
Okay.
awaiting the report.
Just on the, okay. You have that dependency on the
Independent
accounting?
Correct.
Okay, and we don't know yet when they're gonna be completed?
I'm hoping in the next week to 2 weeks.
Okay, awesome. So we'll follow up next meeting then. Okay, awesome.
Thank you very much.
And at no point was to finger point anybody, it was just, the idea is here to get the ball rolling, that's the whole intent.
Yeah, but yeah, honesty is always the best policy.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I love it.
Thank you
I love
very
it.
much,
All
Mr.
right,
Dre.
thank you, and
All right,
have a
thank
good
you.
night, guys.
Thank you very much. Take care. Anybody else, comments, questions? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the Administration and Finance meeting? Moved by.
So moved.
Moved by, thank you very much, Vice Chair Martin. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Urbom. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing none. The Administration and Finance Committee meeting for October 29th is adjourned at 8 p.m.